All right, what's up, everybody? Just coming in, episode 39, Two Live Fools. I know Drew usually does the intro, but Drew had a baby, another baby. So he's going to be on baby duty for a little bit. So tonight we got my buddy James from We.the.people.radio. He's going to be co-hosting with me tonight, and we're going to kind of get into some crazy fun. So, James, what's up, my brother?
Nothing, man. What's going on? I appreciate you having me on. I'm really excited to step in Drew's place. He's on daddy duty. Congratulations, brother. I haven't talked to you since you had your newborn. Congratulations. That's so awesome, dude. I wish you guys nothing but happiness. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, he had another little girl. I know he's doing the not sleep a lot right now. He came in and actually trained today, so that was good for him. But he was like two bangs deep, like poof, poof. So
Yeah, that's why I don't have kids, dude. Fuck that. Like, yeah, God bless you guys because I couldn't do it. I see your three boys. Like that looks a lot of fun, but it looks like a lot of fucking lot of work, dude.
like I couldn't do it without Rand. She's like it's so much work. Like when one of us gets sick of dude, it's like I got three of them, so it's like somebody's always off. Not everybody's always on, and it's like one's happy, the other one's pissed, the other one's trying to burn down the house. It is what it is.
There's three boys, and it's gotta be mayhem in your house. Mayhem.
Oh yeah, dude, it's WrestleMania. Like whatever you think is going on in my house, like kids jumping off of stuff, like fist fight. Dude, my baby at dinner was literally walking around with a knife, going, "I kill zombies! I kill zombies!" Like you're two. He's like, I need a knife, and he talks gibberish. So he's like, knife, zombies, but like the boys know what he's saying because they're with him all the time, right? So like they have like their brother language. But like, dude, he's literally like murking shit. He went and got like this butter knife, and I'm like, whoa, what are you doing? He's like, I just kill a zombie, Dad. And he's like, I need to put this in my house. I need to put this in my house. He's got a hammer in his bed. He sleeps with a skeleton as his baby. Like, I'm like, dude, this kid's gonna be a serial killer.
Yep, you better send him somewhere already. Like 2 years old.
Either that, or he's gonna be like the baddest ass, like that's the special forces type of dude.
He's gonna be a prodigy on the mat. I'll tell you that right now.
I hope so, man. Like, I never force my kids, especially with that stuff. Like, if like you know how it is, you train. Like, training's a privilege.
Mm-hmm.
My house, it's kind of like a rite of passage, but like at the same time, like I tell my kids all the time, like you don't want to train, don't waste my time because this is what Daddy likes to do.
Mm-hmm.
You can either be a part of it, and I will give you every ounce of it,
or
get the fuck out of my way.
Absolutely, and that's how my father was with my brother. Like we were all big athletes, and my brother wasn't. He just kind of let him do his own thing, and
which is okay. You know, not all of them are gonna like it. You know, but. For me, it's just like I want them to train at least like twice a week so they know how to defend themselves. That's it. Like if one of them wants to take it somewhere, I'm 100% behind you. If one of them just wants to do it, twice a week so they don't get their ass kicked in school, that's cool with me too.
That's all they need is just be able to defend themselves. Like if I had kids, that would be the route. You have to go until you can defend yourself, and because it's more, especially nowadays with everything that's going on.
That's like my thing too. Is not even like the deep. Like you're gonna know how to defend yourself, but like you know how it is, bro. Like if you're out of shape, you can't defend yourself. Even if you know how to defend yourself and you want to defend yourself, like if you get gassed, like what do they say? Fatigue makes cowards out of all of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
100% true. How many times have you ever been gassed on the mat and you're like, dude, I give up? I've been broken by like some animals, bro, and it's just like you're like, get me the fuck out of here.
Oh, absolutely. Especially with somebody who's got good fucking top pressure. Oh my God. That's worse than being put into submission. When you're gassed and someone's just got really, really good top pressure, bro, you feel like your whole chest is gonna collapse. You're like, get off me.
You literally feel like you're being buried alive.
Huh?
You feel like you're being buried alive.
Yeah, it's awful. It's awful. It's the worst feeling.
Like drowning.
Thank God when I was fighting, cardio was what I prided myself on. I always made sure that I could outlast everybody, but I'm in the worst shape of my life walking up the stairs now. I'm like
you're trying to tie your shoes because your gut's in the way.
Bro, you try to take my socks off at night. I'm like hopping around like a fucking asshole.
You got to get one of them like telescopic back scratcher thingies so you can pull your socks off with.
My old apartment, I used to have one in my couch, like in between the couch cushions.
The bear claw looking thing. Yeah.
Great. Oh man, but now, yeah, I'm so out of shape, and I wouldn't last a second. Even if it was somebody if they had any kind of cardio, they could survive, even though I know what I'm doing.
It don't matter if they're squirrely and they get you past your threshold. You're gonna be in trouble.
I'm so out of shape right now. The most out of shape I've ever been. But I have a neck injury that's preventing me from doing any sort of working out. Like I started doing yoga the other day and I fucking hate it.
It's hard.
No, it's not even that it's hard. It's
hard.
Wrong. It is hard, and there's certain things I can't do because of my neck. But I went from doing extremely, insanely high intensity workouts.
I understand.
To doing yoga, and I'm like, yo, this sucks. Like I went from like smashing hammers on tires and throwing things over my shoulder and sprints and running 10 miles and like all this crazy stuff, and now I'm just sitting there in plank and downward dog. I'm like, yo, this fucking sucks. Like, I want to go throw things and pick some things up and put it down like
humans. Yeah. No, it is. It's hard. It's hard too because you wrestled and you fought and stuff, and it's like that's why I always say like even like when COVID was happening and like the gyms are closed a little bit and like I was like I was like chopping wood and ripping stuff out and like doing kettlebells and stuff, and I'm like I would do a workout and I'm like my armpits would be like sweaty and I'm like, is this how normal people work out? I'm used to wringing out my shirt, like slopping stuff off me, and then it's like, dude, even like just like weight training was like this is what this is.
Yep. No, it's much different. I mean, going from training for a fight or even wrestling, and all through my life, like the high intensity workouts that you'd have to do to just sitting there. I'm like, yo, it doesn't even feel like a workout. Like this doesn't even feel like I'm doing anything. To be honest, like it really doesn't feel like I'm doing it. I'm just stretching. To be honest, like that's what it feels like. It feels like a warm up. It's like, yo, this is my warm up. That's really what it feels like.
Yeah, I know. And because once you get sweating, you're like, oh, now I can go.
Yeah, like I used to dread the warm up because it was so boring, like shrimping up and down the mat. I'm like, yo, fuck this. Let's roll around and let's do some fun stuff. Like I don't want to be shrimping up and down the mat like an idiot. Like,
but you gotta do it.
Do it. It's a warm up. You know what I'm saying? Like,
especially as you get older. Like now, I just turned 38 last week, right? And I've been doing jiu-jitsu, or I've been training martial arts for like 33 years now. Like I need to warm up for like 20 minutes. Like I need to be sweating before I start rolling. Otherwise, one, my lungs don't work. Two, like my arms start cramping, my hands start cramping, all weird. Like I got to do a solid warm up.
I believe that. I'm 32, and I could definitely tell you if I was working out the whole entire time and not taking 3 years off and just sitting on the couch and doing nothing, I probably wouldn't need as much of a warm up. But I could tell my body is not what it used to be. Even going back 5 years ago, like
you'll be able to turn that around once you get your shit together, and like you can start moving again. Like you're still young enough. Dude, my dad's 60, bro, and he's probably in the best shape. He's better than he was when he was 32.
Well, I believe it. No, I miss it. It's just I miss it. I miss those high intensity workouts. Like I miss showing up at the gym and walking out and my wringing out my clothes because I'm just so drenched in sweat. Like I miss that, and I don't have it with yoga. Like I used to ride the bike a little bit, stationary. That was as far as it goes, and that's fucking boring as fuck too. You're just sitting in one spot, just fucking pedaling. Like, yo, this.
It's like you're cutting weight on the dyno. You're like air dyno or whatever. Yeah, it's not fun at all.
Most miserable time of my training is just cutting weight, like just sitting there. Like,
I know, dude. Worst part of training, man. Worst part of training, cutting weight for competition and stuff like that.
But for your kids, I would definitely, if I did have kids, which I'm not, it would be a requirement to just be able to defend yourself. Like at least be a blue belt. Like at least be a blue belt. At the very least, that would be a requirement. If it was a female, if I had a daughter, oh, forget about it. You're going to jiu-jitsu for life. Like you're going. I don't fucking care. You're going.
Fist fight, grapple, everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, well, jiu-jitsu is the best thing, in my opinion. Like I keep telling my girl, she should train a little bit. Like it's the best thing for a girl to be able to defend themselves and almost level the playing field if you don't have a firearm. And it's just.
Well, that's like my sister's a black belt in kickboxing underneath me. And then it took me about 10 years to get her to do jiu-jitsu. And now she's a 3-stripe or a 4-stripe white belt. But she was just like, man, I wish I started this sooner. And then I just got ran a gi last week. So she started training before she got pregnant with our third one. And then, that happened. So she's trying to get back into it now too.
Well, that's good that your whole family's fucking. It's a family affair now. Indeed.
And I know it's gonna sound crazy, but like I say it all the time. Like I need you to be an asset if something goes down. I don't want you to be like a liability. Like, I want to be able to throw my kid a gun and be like, go up on that ridge and snipe a motherfucker if you need to. Not even like we want to go there, but I need to be like, yo, like I tell her all the time, like, I'm like, you need to know how to unload the guns, load the guns, not do this, not do that. I'm like, you like, what happens? Like, you guys rely on me. What happens if I get sniped right away? Like, you guys need to be able to figure it out.
Bingo. Absolutely. You're 100% right. And the way this world is going, I'm in the belief that better safe than sorry.
Yeah, well, I got that quote on my wall in the gym, and it says, better to be a gardener in a war, better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
Bingo, 100%.
100%.
It's the best quote ever.
Yeah, it is. It's so true because like it's just like one of those things. I'd rather have all the tools and never have to use them than have no tools and need every single one.
100%. Because today, I feel very strongly about what's going on. I think things that are happening right now are pointing to one direction. If you're not paying very close attention, you have no clue any of this is happening. But if for whatever reason, on the slim chance that it doesn't happen the way I see it happening, and Joe Biden does become the president on January 20th, those skills are going to be very much needed, in my opinion.
I agree 100% because, like I know me and you, talk and go back and forth, and, me and Drew speak a little bit on it, but, you obviously with your platform and your podcast, you get deeper into it. And, like I talk to you a lot about, so, like I'm right there with you on a lot of things, but yeah, I mean, like we were saying today, before we got started, I have guys in like some people don't even know that like the election's being challenged.
No. Well, that's the problem. You look on TV and most people still watch their news stations and they want to get information from the news, and nobody is picking up any of these hearings. Like a lot of the times OAN is the only one playing it, and sometimes they're not even playing it. You have to watch it on Right Side Broadcasting on YouTube. Like you literally can't even see the hearings going on. And from Pennsylvania and Gettysburg to Arizona to Georgia to Michigan, it has been nothing but bombs, undeniable evidence that this election was rigged. Like day after day, more and more stuff is coming out, and it's unbelievable. And there's people sitting there screaming still to this day, oh, there's no evidence of fraud. Like, what are you talking about? And they're the same people that
Facebook fact checked it, and then once that thing comes up and it tells you that the Associated Press or CNN or NPR said that there's no way it could happen. Oh, dude, like I've been getting fact checked for shit that like you wouldn't even think you would get fact checked for.
Well, the thing with you, I got removed from Facebook since I've last been on here. They moved me from sharing because when the election happened, one of the first videos that were going out was Michigan in Wayne County. They were kicking all the poll watchers out and then boarding up the windows. And I started sharing that. And one of my posts actually went viral, and it was going all over the internet. And the very next day, my account was gone. Didn't even get a 30-day ban. Didn't get sent to Facebook jail. It was just your account's been disabled. And now I can't even create a new account. Like they won't even let me go in there. I tried creating new emails, making Google phone numbers. Like I tried it all. Like I cannot make a new account. Which is absolutely ridiculous. I had that account since 2007. Like, it's not even like I really care about the account. It's just the photos and the memories and the things that I got tagged in over that, 13, 14 years of time. Like, I did a lot of things that I don't have those pictures in my phone. Like, I don't have those memories in my phone. Like, it's so ridiculous. So, like, that's what I'm more upset about than anything. Like, they didn't even they took our We the People Down main page, but somehow miraculously we got brought back. But they don't want this information getting out there. They're not playing on the media for a reason. Like the Lynn Wood speech, I don't know if you saw that with Lynn Wood and Sidney Powell, but that shit gave me the biggest freedom boner of all. Like I literally wanted to run through a brick wall. Like just Lynn Wood streaming. This is the we are in 1776 again.
It's funny you said that because I posted like a Lynn Wood tweet the other day, or yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday. Where he was like basically like, "Are you going to stand up? Like China sent us the virus. China tried to take the election. Like they committed war on us."
Yeah.
And that was what Facebook fact checked me on. They're like, this has been fact checked, and I'm like, dude, it's a guy's opinion. Like he also has a lot of evidence.
Yes.
So his opinion is more valid than Facebook fact check to me.
100%. And Facebook fact checking is the biggest joke ever. And you saw Candace Owens got lawyers involved in Facebook fact checking, and they brought it back and they're like, "Oh, we jumped the gun. It was actually wasn't fact checked. It was actually what she said was correct." Like they literally had to backtrack because they got lawyers involved. And this is why removing Section 230 is so important. Removing Section 230 and getting allowing these social media networks to hide behind this wall of Section 230 and being able to censor everything that they want. Like when they when they got a part of Section 230, they were agreeing to be a platform, like a utility, just like the phone companies are. You know what I'm saying? And now they're literally out there censoring and fact checking, not just us common folk. Like they're censoring President Trump, they're censoring Lin Wood, they're censoring his son, Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump. They're putting fact checks on literally everything.
Same thing's going on with Twitter. Have you noticed, like, anytime POTUS posts something, like, if you go to like it, it's like, this has been disputed, and you have to, like, go through an extra step to like something that he puts or something. Like, this is the president of the United States. You're doing this. Would they ever do that to Obama? No.
Never.
Would they have done that to Bush? No.
It's so funny because, it wasn't really around as prevalent during Bush, but they wouldn't do it. But it's so funny that people sit here and they're like, oh, President Trump is just making things up. Like, he's the president of the United fucking States. Like, he has access to all of the intelligence he wants to get his hands on. Like, if he wants to ask a question about some classified information, guess what? He can. He's the fucking president. He has, like, they're fact checking him like at Twitter. Like, they know they have more information than he does. And it's absolutely insane. And they don't. They're completely left in the dark. And that's what I love. I fucking love it. Seeing them in complete dark. Because if you look at the media, they're acting like the birds from Finding Nemo. Just fucking chirping a fucking way. Just screaming.
Mine.
Why aren't you conceding yet? You're ruining our democracy. Give us an answer. Answer our questions. Why aren't you answering questions? What's going on? And like they're freaking out and going absolutely batshit because they have no fucking clue what evidence he has. This is why there's no leaks, any investigations. This is why the things that are happening are happening.
But that's what people forget is, like, you know, they like let's bring it to, like, you know, the Russian hoax, right? So with the Russian hoax, everybody was like, you know, every day there was like bombshell reporting on CNN, bombshell. It was literally every other day there was another bombshell witness, bombshell this, bombshell that. That's not how a real investigation works.
Nope.
There was leaks and sieves and trying, like, when you leak something like that, I mean, dude, anybody who's ever watched like SVU or any you know, Criminal Minds, they'll leak certain information to set a precedence in certain areas.
Yes, absolutely. And it's so funny that happens because, again, I don't know if we talked about this the last time. No, I don't think I was on before this came out. So if you haven't watched it yet or discussed it with your audience, everybody who listens to this show, go on Amazon, go on BitChute, on Vimeo, watch The Plot Against the President.
Oh yeah, no, that was good.
Watch that documentary because you have people like Devin Nunes and Kash Patel. They held Senate committee hearings and congressional hearings behind closed doors because Shifty Schiff and Nancy Pelosi wanted it behind closed doors. But they were asking all of these questions to these people if there was any collusion, if you had any evidence, if you had seen any collusion. And every single time it was no. All of them, Shifty Schiff and everybody, were saying no, we haven't seen it. But then they go on a 10-minute break.
Look and say that they have these big ass reports, everything else, dude. He's
in front of Mike telling the American public every day, oh, there's undeniable evidence. We've seen it. It's undeniable. Yet we have still yet to see this evidence that he said he's seen, which is undeniable evidence of collusion that they rigged this election. Meanwhile, they're screaming that the elections can't be rigged now. Like the hypocrisy is absolutely insane. And
then it's funny. Then you see the other side. They'll sit there and be like, "Oh, you call us snowflakes because we didn't, you know, say Trump was our president, and you're not going to accept, and now we need to unify and all this." You called, you know, the other side racist You call them not pedophiles because that's the other, but you call them every nasty name that you could call them in the book. Now you just want them to put it aside. And like, listen, like I say it all the time, and I know you've said it before. Like, I'm a constitutionalist. Like, I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat. I want my kids to grow up in a free America. There's a big difference. And I've said it 1,000 times too. Donald Trump, whether you like him, hate him, or not, he's a Ronin. Both parties are scared of him. You've never seen anybody go after another president like this unless they murked him like JFK, or they shot Ronald Reagan, like stuff like that. But you haven't seen anybody come back.
And that's what's happening right now. And I think this is why the president allowed this whole entire thing, this whole entire shit show to happen. I truly believe this with every fiber of my body, that he allowed this to happen to further expose that it wasn't just the Democrats. This is a good versus evil battle. This is not a Democrat versus Republican. The Republicans are very much involved in this coup, and that's what it is. It's a military. It is a full-blown coup to remove a sitting U.S. president and rig this election. Because
they never accept the first one. I feel like it's been a coup since he got in. And like I said, I remember me and you both talking. Like, people don't fathom. Like, you voted for Obama. Like, I was like, holy shit. Like, the president of the United States is the guy who did The Apprentice. Like, it took me about 2 years to get on board.
I was on board right away, and I almost fell off. I almost fell off from the POTUS train, from Donnie Ballgame's team, because I thought that he was one of them when he dropped that bomb on Syria, the Moab on Syria. Yeah. And I got introduced to Patriot Insider, and started digging into that and that whole thing. So I almost fell off the Donnie Ballgame train, and I was like, yo, this guy's another one of them. Like, this is it. Like, he's not a patriot. Like, he's playing ball for them. We're going into needless wars that we don't have any business in being. And if Syria wants to just kill their own people, like, that sucks. Like, that's disgusting. But we're in no place to be the world police right now. We have too many issues in our country. So I was
for 20 plus years, like, why do we have to world police everybody? Why don't we take care of our own first? Like, it's like anything else. You take care of your house. You make sure your house is clean. You make sure your house is in order first. You make sure you have finances for your house first. Then anything left over, you want to be a generous motherfucker, go ahead.
Absolutely. 100%. And that's how.
Unless something is like so like morally wrong that you're like, we can't just stand by and let this happen. But no. But it's every country, every time, everything, all this, and like, they don't even like their own people half the time. One tribe doesn't like the other. You're not going to fix millenniums of hatred, like, because tribe A hates tribe B, and now you're going to come in and say shake hands. What, you don't think they've been trying to do that for fucking 1,000 years?
So I think with what's going on, President Trump is playing the greatest game of chess of all time. The greatest game. Like, there's no better game of chess being played ever. Because if you watched up to the election, and I still believe this to this day, as I said going up to the election, 50-0. 50-0. And I still believe it's 50-0. And when all the fraud is finally exposed, it will end up being 50-0. It won't even be close.
I think California and New Jersey turn red.
Oh, I do too.
They called California literally before it even closed.
8 minutes after the election closed.
Yeah, it was 8 minutes to the tape. They called Jersey before when even one vote was counted.
New Jersey still counting.
Still don't even have their mail-in ballots counted. Like, ours sent in, and it's still waiting in a queue. And I sent it in like a month and a half ago.
Lex, our co-host, her vote hasn't been counted yet either. It still hasn't been counted. And you notice, you ask any Biden supporters, which there aren't many, but you ask them, they're like, "Oh yeah, my vote counted. They counted it. Why aren't they counting?" Like, oh, you must have did something wrong. Like, what?
Well, that was the thing that killed me too. Not killed me, but like Morris County, you're from here, right? So like, it's more of a Republican county. You do have your blue in here and stuff like that, but it usually goes Republican. They had it as blue, and I'm like, there's no fucking way with every goddamn boat parade that was going on Lake Apache and everything. Dude, there was impromptu, literally Trump parades going down Route 15, like Wednesday, 2:00 in the afternoon, tractor trailers.
Yep, in Parsippany too. They were all over the place. They were everywhere in New Jersey. And that's part of the chess match that President Trump is playing, though. That's part of the chess match. Because, like I was saying, I was very adamant that it's going to be 50-0. It's going to be a blowout. It's going to be a red tsunami. It's not even going to be close. And I did hold out hope that the red tsunami would show up and we'd win outright on election night. And at 2 a.m, when I went to bed in my time, President Trump was up by 800,000 votes in Pennsylvania. He was up by like 400,000 in Wisconsin and Michigan. And I literally went to bed and they stopped the election. They stopped the count. I was like, that's weird. Why would they stop the count? They never done that before.
When have you ever seen that?
Never. But then I sat there and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go to bed. It's 2 a.m. If they want to win this election, they're going to have to do something so obvious and so blatant that nobody's going to believe that they pulled this out of their hat. And I wake up in the morning and lo and behold, they fucking did it. They're like, oh, yeah, we found it. Like, you see the chart of Joe Biden in Wisconsin. It's just like gradual, straight up. And I'm like, wait, what? And it makes no sense. But this is part of the president's chess game because I knew it was going to be disputed. Like, I knew that this was going to happen. It was going to be disputed as much as I wanted to think that the red wave was going to show up so big that they wouldn't be able to cheat it. And it did. And in fact, it did because that's why they had to cheat and that's why they had to shut it down because they showed up so big.
Yeah, their algorithms couldn't keep up with what they thought that it was going to be, and they had to do some major dumps in some major areas because there was no way they were going to be able to cover it. You're going to tell me that Joe Biden got more fucking the historical presidential votes than Obama, and then Trump got more than Obama, and you're telling me Joe Biden got more than both of them? Come on, bro.
So this is, again, why the rallies. Like, he held 28 rallies the last week of the election. Like, 28. He was doing like 5 a day. Like, this guy is
at his age, like, I don't get it.
He's a savage. But he did like a ton of election. And he even said in his rally today that the smallest one was 25K. Somewhere upwards of 75,000 people that were showing up to these rallies. Arizona had 96 miles of cars waiting to get into this rally.
Dude, so that's like the Tokyo Dome, like 75,000. That's like bigger than Giant Stadium. Like, what's Giant Stadium hold? Like 30,000 people or something ridiculous?
Hell yeah. I couldn't, probably like 32,000, something
right?
Like that.
It's not a huge stadium, but like just think about that. Like, one of his rallies was like 2 giant stadiums filled. Like, you ever been to a Bon Jovi concert, bro?
Yeah, for real.
Like especially in Jersey, or like a Springsteen concert in Jersey, bro. Like, they're crazy.
Facts. 82,500 people in MetLife. So a little bit more, but that's like filling up.
That's filling up a giant stadium.
Yeah. And MetLife is one of the biggest capacity stadiums in football.
Is it? I don't watch football anymore.
So I haven't watched any at all this year.
I go to Giants games every year. Big Giants fan. I haven't watched football in years.
Well, it's a good thing I took off this year because I'm a Jets fan and they're about to go 0-16. So,
different than the other year.
Fuck you. But the reason why he held these rallies was not to just get us all hyped up, but to also add more evidence to this fraud case. Because, like you said earlier, Joe Biden got the most votes in presidential election history, yet couldn't fill up a classroom. Literally couldn't get 20 people. He had a free Lady Gaga concert, and less than 100 people showed up for Lady fucking Gaga. Meanwhile, President Trump
maybe showed up for him too,
and less than 100 people showed up to this event. Then you have President Trump, who's holding rallies, and
hold on, but this is now you say this, and me and you both agree on this, but then I'm going to play devil's advocate. Well, because they want people to social distance and they want people to stay home.
Okay,
that's why nobody showed up for them, because that's the argument you get, right?
It's the argument you get. But okay, if that's the case. Why is Joe Biden doing a Thanksgiving address and only 1,000 people are tuning in to his Facebook 1,000 address? Yeah, he got 80 million votes. Yeah, he got 80 million votes. Less than 1,000 people are on Facebook to watch him give a Thanksgiving address. Tell me how it makes sense. Tell me how it makes sense after the election happened and they thought Joe Biden in fact won. They're out in LA and they're celebrating, passing champagne around with everybody. It was the total strangers. It's okay then. But it's not okay when President Trump holds a rally. Like, this is where it's totally disputed, and this is where you could say that argument till you're blue in the face. But you also have Joe Biden out there saying that they put together the best fraud team in election history. Like, whether it was a Freudian slip or he meant to say that, he did say that. There's video footage of him saying this. Like, So your argument that he was trying to avoid COVID, it doesn't make sense because people aren't avoiding COVID to watch him on Facebook. 80 million votes and only less than 1,000 people tune in to watch. That makes no sense. Zero sense.
Dude, I mean, even statistically wise, like, we say it all the time, like, we're not geniuses, but, like, people go, oh, Facebook followers. Like, look at Trump's Facebook followers compared to Biden's Facebook followers. Now they go, oh, well, that Facebook doesn't mean anything. But then in the same breath, they go, oh, but the fact checks mean everything.
Yeah.
So you contradict yourself right there all the time, too. But at the end of the day, like, we both, like, done events, thrown events. Like, if you only have 100 people on your Facebook page and you invite them to an event, you might get 15 of them to show up, and that's 15%.
If you're lucky, yeah.
You're lucky, right?
Yeah.
But if you have people that have millions of followers, then okay, then you might get 20,000 people to show up, even out of a million.
80 million people. There should be more than there should be more than 1 million tuning into this live stream. Meanwhile,
1,000.
President Trump, for his rally today on YouTube, was getting 250,000 viewers. 250,000 people were watching.
Because you can't even see it. Like I was telling you, like I don't have cable anymore. So like honestly, the only way I can get it is either go on YouTube, and a lot of places don't show it live.
No.
Which is crazy. The President of the United States, like they won't even show him live on TV. What the fuck is going on?
So this is what we're in right now is not a physical boots on the ground war. This is we are, keep in mind, we are in a war. This is 100% a war right now, and it is information warfare. They don't show the rallies on TV. They don't show the crowds when they do. They just show, like, even President Trump trolls them. He comes home from a rally in Melania's like, oh, how'd it go? He's like, it was amazing. It was packed. She's like, really? She's like, I couldn't tell because all they showed was just a small group of people that were sitting behind you. They don't show the whole crowd. And you have to go to social media to see these photos. There's a reason why they don't show. There's a reason why they don't show the hearings. There's a reason why they don't show the Rod Rosenstein's testimony. There's a reason why they don't show the Sally Yates testimony. There's a reason why this stuff is not broadcast all over the TV. If it was the other way around, it would be on every station 24/7. But because it has to do with President Trump being innocent or President Trump actually winning the fucking election or showing that he has support, they're not going to show a damn thing. They're not going to show you anything. And it's a disservice. But this is why General Flynn, before he got arrested, is out there saying that we have an army of digital soldiers. We have civilian journalists who are out there sharing information because the real media, the mainstream media, is doing a disservice by lying to the American public. And that's why we took that oath. That's exactly why we took that oath as patriot. It wasn't for clout. It wasn't to look cool on the internet. We were taking an oath to fight for this country, just like every man and woman that signs to join the military takes. This is why we took that oath, because we are fighting for our country. We are sharing this information far and wide. I don't care if you've got 100 followers or if you've got 100,000 followers. Share this information everywhere. If you see the videos that are going around, the documents and all the things that are showing about this voter fraud, share it everywhere because people have no idea it's even happening. People have no clue. Like, look at yesterday what happened in the Georgia, or it was 2 days ago at this point, in the Georgia hearing. This woman comes up on stage and she's like, here, we have this video. And here's 4 panels of the video, 4 different angles of the room.
And I know, it's insane.
Here's the security feed. Here's this blonde braided woman. She put this table here at 8:22 in the morning. And then they put this table there. And at the end of the night, when the flood broke out, they sent everybody home because this was in the Atlanta Hawks Stadium. This is where it happened in Atlanta. They sent everybody home. They're like, oh, everybody go home. Stop counting. We're going to take care of it. And there was 4 people in the room. And all of a sudden, those 4 people go to that table, to that blonde woman, and keep in mind, the person who kicked everybody in the room was the same braided blonde woman kicking everybody in the room. As soon as everybody leaves, they go and take 4 suitcases out from underneath that table that they set up. And they start counting those ballots with no poll watchers.
How many ballots could be in something that's about this thick?
Yeah, and there's 4 of them. 4 of them.
4 suitcases, like Samsonite.
And yeah, and the crazy thing is, while during the hearing, some woman had the balls to say, oh, that's everything that we're seeing right now is debunked. It's been debunked. We've been seeing all of these videos since the election a month ago, and they've been debunked over and over again. And
dude, like, this is the first time we're showing this fucking video.
She's like, the representative is like, yo, can you tell me, Has anybody seen this video? Has this been broadcast? No one has seen this. We just got this information very recently, so nobody has seen this evidence yet. We're debuting it here, and she's like, oh, excuse me, sorry. Like, this is what they try to do. They try to say it's been debunked.
They're gonna use that soundbite of debunked because that's the way is like, oh, debunked. As soon as you say that, it's like trigger words. They fucking condition you to, oh, debunked. Oh, that means not true. Okay, so like automatically somebody says debunked and it's just like boom, like conspiracy theory.
So yeah, so we've been covering these hearings in detail on our show for the past couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And what I try to do for our listeners is because we talk about them. And like I talk about Colonel Waldron, who is a data analyst for the military. Then I talk about Strenson, who's a computer scientist and forensic analyst for the military and the Navy, colonel in the Navy. And I talk about these people, and I'm like, oh, you got to go and watch. Like I could talk about it till I'm blue in the face, but go watch the footage. And
yeah. When you watch the footage and actually hear like an intelligent, eloquent person that knows what they're talking about and do, like you look at these people, you're like, this guy's not lying. And what does he have to gain from lying? Because anybody who's come out on this has had their like that blonde chick from Michigan. She's like, I can't get a job no more. I can't do anything. Like, why would I do this to myself?
Getting threatened. My family is leaving me. Like it's terrible. But you go online, like I was trying to find links and highlights of those clips. You cannot find them anywhere. Like I'm on like page 20 of Google on YouTube, and they're nowhere to be found. It's literally just all the headlines was, oh, President Trump calls into the hearing today and gives more baseless conspiracy theories about what's going on. Meanwhile, like we said at the top of the show, he's the fucking president. Like he has access to all the information, all of it. But he's spewing baseless conspiracies. And that's the only headlines that you're seeing, all of that nature. You cannot find clips of Strenson. You can't find clips of the woman, Melissa Carone from Michigan, who's blonde. She was a contractor for Dominion. She was literally working for Dominion, and she's on there, and the one bald guy, this cuck up on stage, he's like, there's no way it was 30,000 votes that were
yeah, she nailed him to the fucking wall with that.
She's like, I saw what I saw. What did you go in there and change it like you guys always do? Because I saw
crazy.
She's like, she's like, I swore under oath that if I'm lying or I'm wrong, I go to jail. Did you sign anything? Because I did. And he just sat there like,
He shrunk into his seat like, because he did it.
Yeah.
She's right.
Yeah. And then, like Michigan was just straight fucking flames. Like the Indian woman, Hema, her name. First off, she was gorgeous. She was
well, like I saw you on. It was so funny because I watched your podcast the other day. And you're like, yo, if an Indian woman's super hot, like they're like, and I say it all the time. I'm like, if there's a super hot Indian woman, they are like top shelf, top shelf,
all the time. Because they're like unicorns. Like I guess if you go to India, I'm sure you see a ton of them. But they're like unicorns. But that's besides the point. She's out there. She's got one of the 50th fastest growing companies in the country. She gave up her Indian citizenship to become a U.S. citizen. And when her testimony, she's like, listen, they didn't know my GOP tag was hidden. And they just assumed I was one of them because I'm Indian. Like I'm not a white person. They were targeting all white males to kick them all out. And they were using the China virus from China. They were using the China virus restrictions to chastise them. Like, oh, you took your mask out over your nose. See you later. Get out of here. Oh, you're not 6 feet apart. See you later. Get out of there. Meanwhile, it wasn't the same for the left. And she was giving all this testimony. And then you have the woman from Detroit, the representative from Detroit. And she's like, I know for a fact all of these people are up here lying. Like they are telling all of them are lying. And the woman's like, what do you mean I'm lying? She's like, you want me to swear under oath? Because I'm already under oath. But if you want me to like put my hand on the Bible, I will. And she's like, people that lie have to have so much mental strength and memory ability. She's like, people that lie have to really work at that. People that tell the truth, you can wake up in the middle of the night in a dead sleep and ask them to tell you a story. It'll still be the same. And guess what? If you did that to me, I'd still tell you the same story because this is what happened. This is what happened. Then you have the other Indian woman, Jessie. And she was telling another story. She's like, listen, like they tried to bully me into counting these votes illegally. And I got like 3 done and I immediately stopped and I broke down. I couldn't do this. And you could see her emotion while she's sitting up there testifying. And she couldn't get it. She's like, I can't believe like this. I left India and I became an American citizen. This should not be happening in our country. Like I'm disgusted that this is happening. And she's up.
Was that the lady who, like, she brought it up and she's like, this isn't right? And then she's like, well, what do you think we should do with it? And then she like went and got the supervisor, and the supervisor's like, do you think we should put it for the Democrats? And she's like, why wouldn't you put it for the Republicans if you're going to use that logic?
Absolutely. And that's exactly what they were doing.
So I know like there's a ton of evidence you just spit out. So like even like let's break it down for this. Like Dominion. Some people don't even know what Dominion is. Okay, so like I know me and you have spoke about this. Like Dominion is the company and the software, right? The software and the hardware.
Smartmatic. It's Dominion and Smartmatic together. Dominion's the hardware. It's like the actual voting machines, and Smartmatic is the software. Okay. So it's so funny. I have Owen on still in the background from watching the rally, and they're talking about Dominion right now. So Dominion, their office is based in Toronto, Canada, outside of the United States, and not every single county or use them in every state except for Georgia. Georgia is the only statewide mandate that they have to use the Dominion and Smartmatic software. No coincidence, but a lot of counties use them. Yeah. What do you say?
I think Jersey uses them too.
Well, we had to all mail in, so it didn't really matter. But I wouldn't. If Jersey used them as well, but everywhere else is based on the county. So like in Michigan, it was like 47 counties that used it. In Arizona, it was like 29 counties that used it. So it wasn't every single county, but it was in a lot of counties. And the software, like I said, is owned. It's in a Toronto building, and this is how you know something is really fishy. So it's in a Toronto building. And the office shares office space with GS. I don't even want to say his name because it'll get you sent to the memory hole. But he's big eye bags under his eyes, and he looks like Lord Palpatine. So if you know who that is, then you know who I'm talking about. His initials are GS. And
I saw something. Not to cut you off, but I saw something today that he died 2018, and they got his body double in prison.
I wouldn't be shocked. But it's tough when you go down those rabbit holes and you start speculating because you can't really prove it.
Exactly. I'm just saying this is just like hearsay stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of rumors swirling around that the timing really makes sense, and I do want to get into that. But with Dominion, so their office shares office space, not even like different doors, like literally the same floor. Like you can go in the same area, like desks next to each other, as this foundation that this guy runs, that Lord runs. And as soon as everything started hitting the fan, Dominion literally left that office building. There's video footage of people going to the office building. They removed all the signage from inside. Like when you go inside of a building, they have what's like a doctor's office, and they have the doctor before he's on.
Whatever.
They removed all of it except the keypad in the front. The guy had his camera. He's like, oh, yeah, if you type in this code, it'll still show that Dominion this is where their office was, like their phone number, their floor number, like so you could buzz in. And it was still there. So the fact that they were just cleaning house and all of the people that worked for Dominion on LinkedIn were scrubbing their profiles of any association with this company, that immediately says to me that there's something off. Like you don't do that kind of stuff unless you did something bad. But you add that to the fact that it's based in Canada, where our votes are being made in the U.S. for a U.S. election. There's no need for the company to be a Canadian company. But it gets even worse. Smartmatic was created, and Dominion was created in Venezuela in the Hugo Chavez administration, and they created it strictly so they would never lose an election ever again. This is why the software was fucking created down in Venezuela. Like, this is why they did it, okay? And one of the whistleblowers is an admiral from down in Venezuela and worked directly with Hugo Chavez and was in the briefings for all of this for Smartmatic with Hugo Chavez. And when they shut down the elections, he immediately called the feds and got in touch with Sidney Powell and was like, yo, as soon as they shut down the elections, I knew they were doing this. I knew exactly what they were doing because this was exactly what they did in Venezuela. Exactly what they did in Venezuela. Meanwhile, people forget that Venezuela was the wealthiest South American country in the world, and they were crushing. And then all of a sudden, they used democratic socialism, the same thing that they're trying to push in this country. And now they're eating their fucking dogs. They're literally eating their dogs. It's disgusting. Eating it at garbage. They're burning their money because it's so worthless for heat. They're burning their money for heat. That's how bad it is over there. And this is what they're doing in the United States. But then it gets even worse than that.
Yep.
Because then it comes to find out that the server where the votes are being tallied are in Frankfurt, Germany, owned by a Spanish bank from Barcelona, Spain, and they're being counted and tabulated in Frankfurt, Germany. Now, why the fuck is a Canadian-based company that was created in Venezuela counting our votes in Frankfurt, fucking Germany through a Spanish company from Spain? Why? We're the United States of America. Our votes should be counted in.
We can't have all our shit. We're the greatest nation in the world. We can't figure out how to do our own vote in-house? Or we have to outsource that too?
It makes absolutely
zero sense.
No sense. That alone, that our votes are being counted in a foreign country, and I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, who you voted for, that should immediately raise red flags. And I've said it on our show, and I'm sure you agree. I'd much rather know it's a free and fair election and Joe Biden win and then have Trump win and win by cheating. I'd much rather it knowing it's a free and fair election.
I say it all the time. Is like, you see the narrative go from there's no way there's possible voter fraud. Then it goes from there's no way there's possible voter fraud to, oh, it's just a little bit of voter fraud. And then it goes to, oh, it's not as widespread as you would think. Then it goes to, oh, it's not enough to, even if there was fraud, it's not enough to change the election. So, but this is what you're saying is, no, now you're okay with it because when you talk to other people, they're just like, oh, well, it's not enough to change it. That's like me saying like, oh, they cheated the ball on like 6 first downs. So they kept the ball longer. It really didn't change the election, but the other team could have had an offensive 6 goes at that where it could have changed the election, right?
Absolutely. And what Dominion was doing, and this is why they shut down the votes, because Dominion had an algorithm set up to switch votes from Joe Biden to Donald Trump. And Code Monkey Z, Ron Watkins.
Following him. He's legit.
He was the admin for 8kun and coding for 11. Like, that's what he does, is coding. Like, he's a computer wizard. He's way smarter at computers than you or I or a lot of people that we even know. Like, this guy is a computer genius. And he literally was reading through the manuals and tweeting all this out about what's going on. And he's like, listen, like the Dominion servers, it was as easy as literally going in and moving votes from one folder to another. Like, that's how unsecure it was in the Dominion servers. And you think that in Frankfurt, Germany, that they weren't doing that? They weren't just moving votes from one folder to another while it's in fucking Frankfurt, Germany? Like, it's not, we're not talking like it was in Kentucky or like in Kansas. Like,
well, then the other thing that, and I don't know if this is confirmed or hearsay, so I'm just going to put it out there, but how many other countries were plugged into that server?
Oh, that's one of the things that Phil Waldron testified to. He goes, because Phil Waldron, Colonel Phil Waldron, he was a colonel in our U.S. Army. He was asked, I think it was at the Arizona hearing, and he was asked, he was like, listen, Krebs was on 60 Minutes saying that the Dominion servers were not hooked up to the internet at any point. It was not hooked up to the internet whatsoever.
There should be no reason for him to be hooked up to the internet.
None whatsoever. But Colonel Waldron, he testified that no, in fact, his white hat hackers have all of the metadata and the proof, and they see it with their own eyes, that it was actually hooked up to the internet all day on election day, on November 3rd. All day it was hooked up to the election. So what had happened was Trump supporters showed out so much for President Trump that they underestimated in their algorithms when they put this in, that shut down the election and shut down the count because President Trump's lead was getting so big. And this is why they had to come in with the mail-in.
brakes on all those. They had to have the mail in because that's their other dirty trick, doing the dead people voting, other dirty trick. But they had to put the brakes on and shut down. Like we both said, we've never seen anybody go, we're just gonna start counting for the night and we'll pick it up in the morning.
Yeah, it makes no sense. As soon as they did that, I was like, all right, well, they're going to try to cheat, but they're
Dude,
going to have.
I said, I'm like, they're trying to steal the election. I looked right at Rand, and as soon as I'm like, who the fuck stops counting votes on fucking election night?
Never happened ever. And they tried to tell us that it was a pipe burst. Meanwhile, it was like a toilet backup. Like that was literally what happened. Like they literally subpoenaed all of the plumber records and the work records to get, and it was literally just like a toilet backup. Like
like went in there with a plunger and unclogged it and said, "See you later."
Yeah, but they said a pipe burst and everything was flooding in a brand newly renovated stadium, which is
yes.
But what was also really wild, which again corroborates them shutting down and pumping in mail-in ballots. I don't know if you saw Jesse Morgan's testimony in Virginia with the Amstead project. So people don't realize that Sidney Powell, well, they do now because the Trump team made it an address saying that Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood are not working with President Trump's team. They're filing
working for the American people.
Yes, and I think this is done on purpose, and I want to go into my theory in a second, but I want to keep covering this voter fraud because most people don't even know it exists. So the Amstead project is like Lynn Wood and Sidney Powell.
Yeah.
They're representing the American people. They're not working directly with President Trump's team. Like this is why when you had, I think it was in Georgia yesterday, and you had the representative, it might have been in Michigan, we had the representative say to the young guy, he looks like he's 12 years old. He's like, you guys lost on 37 cases, and you're only doing this because you want to get pardons from President Trump. And Giuliani's like, well, first off, I want you, that's stricken from the record and you to be punished because that's a defamation of my professional character.
Yeah.
2, we only brought 3 cases. So I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, 37 cases that we lost. Because there's other people that are fighting for the American public that are bringing their own cases. So the Amstead Project, they're representing the American people as well. And they went and interviewed this guy. He's a trucker for the USPS Postal Service.
The guy driving the ballots from one state to another.
So yeah, Jesse Morgan. This guy is an absolute American hero, and all these people are testifying are 100% American heroes because they are getting threats on their lives. They're being pressured to recant their statement. Like I can only imagine they're losing their jobs. I can only imagine the pressure that they're under to not speak out and things that they're being done and said about them. But this guy Jesse Morgan, he was a trucker for the U.S. Postal Service, and he was driving the same route for 16 months for the U.S. Postal Service. He had the same truck. He literally read off the truck number. He's like, this is my trailer. I've had it for the entire 16 months. So his route was from Bethpage, New York to Lancaster to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And he went to the same route for 16 months, nonstop. And he gets to his route, he gets to the truck stop in Bethpage. He parks his truck and he goes to stay where he normally stays. He comes back the next morning and his trailer is MIA. They make him sit there for 6 hours in the truck lot while they load up his truck. While he's sitting there, he's asking questions like, well, why am I sitting here for 6 hours? Usually you load it up, I wake up in the morning, I pull out, and I'm on my way. Like, what's going on? And truckers also usually get slips for when they're at these truck stops. And he was like, all right, I want my slip, and I also want a late slip because I want to be paid for the 6 hours that I was sitting here.
Yeah, I'm sitting here stagnant.
They flat out refused to give him a slip. They wouldn't give him
documentation.
Then they told him, they're like, don't stop at your Lancaster stop. Go straight to Harrisburg. And he's like, what do you mean? Like, why would I do that? Like, they're not going to be able to unload the Lancaster stuff. Like, I'm supposed to pick up the Harrisburg stuff in Lancaster. Like, what do you mean? And they're like, just go straight to Harrisburg. So he was already like a little fishy. But then the third thing that happened, and at first he was excited about it. He goes, when I checked my load, I found out it was all ballots for the U.S. presidential election. And I was super excited because I was like, wow, my work is directly affecting the U.S. presidential election. Like, that's pretty cool. And I can understand feeling that. Like, that's pretty fucking cool. Like, what you're doing directly affects the U.S. presidential election. But then he was driving, and he started to go through all the anomalies, all the things that don't normally happen. And all of a sudden it hit him like a brick fucking wall. He's like, wait, Why the fuck am I driving ballots from Bethpage, New York to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania? Like, why are ballots coming from New York going to Pennsylvania? That makes no fucking sense. That makes zero sense that ballots from New York would be going to Pennsylvania. Like,
because that's a law. Like ballots can't cross state lines.
yes, but it took a
Philly takes all the people from Camden, gives them a meal, and has them vote in Philly.
And this guy, I give him all the credit in the world because when he was being interviewed by the head guy from the Amstead Project, he was like, listen, like, I've already done a background check on you, dude. Like, tell me about yourself. And he's like, yeah, I used to have a drug problem, and I did some time in jail. And he's like, well, if you come forward with this, like, that's what they're going to attack. Like, they're going to attack the fact that you spend time in jail rather than the substance of what you're talking about. They're not going to care about any of the substance. They're just going to attack you for the fact that you've done some time. Now, he had a drug problem, and he went to jail, and he was able to kick his drug problem when he had his first daughter. And this is why I found this story so powerful, because the one question the guy asked, he goes, does your daughters know that you spent time in jail? And he said, no. I couldn't imagine. I'm not a father. I'm not a father. I have no context to this. But like, if it was my dog in that situation, I can almost compare it. But I couldn't imagine having to tell your daughters that all over the news is going to be the fact that I spent time in jail. And you had no idea. I don't know how old his daughters were. You had no idea. And I have to tell you now because I'm just being a patriot and doing my patriotic duty by exposing this fraud. Like, I shouldn't have to, because this fraud shouldn't happen in the first place. But because it is, I'm stepping up to the plate. And now I have to tell you, not on my time, not when I feel like you're ready to know this, where you won't judge me, but I have to now tell you because of this. And this guy is literally losing everything. I couldn't imagine going through that as you know what I'm saying? Like, I couldn't even put myself in those shoes to have to tell your kids that you spent time in jail, not on your own time, like not when you wanted to tell them. And it was absolutely disgusting, the fact that he had to do this and still had to, like, it's unbelievable. Like, that should never happen in the first place. It shouldn't even have been an issue. And he should have been able to tell his daughters when they were ready to hear it, or when he felt that they were ready to hear it. And now he has to go and tell them, hey, dad spent some time in jail. Like, that's,
I mean, that just goes to show too, like, is like, they had to hit this election on so many different levels: mail-in ballots, bringing ballots across state lines, fixing software systems, stopping the vote. Like, there's so many anomalies, and then people will be like, oh, well, that's happened here or there. It's not that big of a deal. Like, it's a big of a deal when it's in multiple states. It's probably in all of them.
So the other argument that I get, I don't know about you, is if it's that bad, why didn't President Trump do anything to prevent it from happening? I get that argument a lot too. And
I personally think he trapped them.
I 100% think so. I personally think it was a sting operation. It was done on purpose.
Have you seen, and I don't know if this is speculation or not, but have you seen that, basically I've seen a couple outlets saying that, basically the National Guard tracked the whole election because they knew something was going to happen. They have all this shit in real time, and they're just letting them dig their fucking grave right now.
So I do have some verification to that. So Tommy G, who I've become very close with in this movement, great guy, fucking love Tommy. Shout out to Tommy G, guy's a legend. And everybody's like, oh, he's not one of us, but in reality, he ripped up a multi-million-dollar sports betting contract with a company to do this full time. Like, he's as patriot as it gets, and he has no reason to lie. And he's very close friends with, I think you had Mike Romanelli from Freethinker on your show. I think you did the show.
I did. I haven't spoke to him yet, but yeah, no, he's buddies with him.
He's very good friends with Mike Romanelli from Freethinker Society, who's who's like a big brother to me. So again, Tommy has no reason to lie or make stuff up, but he was approached, and he broke the story on his show. So go check that out on his podcast, the No Mercy Pod. But
No Mercy Pod.
Yeah, he had somebody approach him who, according to him, he's like, listen, he's like, this guy's on TV all the time, and if I was able to tell you who it was, you'd say it's a credible source. Like, this guy's very close with the president, like family close. So he had said that there was video. They had poll watchers. They had people with video body cams on at every single polling station. They have everything caught on film. Everything is documented, and there's also audio and video footage of media people saying that tonight we're taking back the country, like off air, like we're taking back the country, and they have video footage of this, so it's going to be undeniable. But I also think it was a sting operation because of this fact. I've been going down these rabbit holes for a very long time. You have too. And I've been saying for a very long time that these elections have always been rigged. They've been rigged for a very long, since before we were born, I think they have been rigged. But one of the reasons why...
As far back as Bush Gore.
Well, yeah, but one of the reasons why I know this is because I took my red pill in 2004, 2005. That's when I started going down these rabbit holes. And one of my first rabbit holes, it was obviously 9/11. Then it took me to JFK. Then it took me to secret societies. And the secret societies is one that was a huge eye-opener for me, and how deep this cabal goes. Because in 2004, it was George Bush running against John Kerry for the 2004 election.
Yeah.
I started going down this rabbit hole about the Skull and Bones, and you come to find out that
They're both Skull and Bones guys.
And George Bush are both bonesmen. They are
Yeah.
both part of the Skull and Bones, and you start researching into what the Skull and Bones is. It's extremely secretive. Like, they don't talk about it. Like, it's
out of Yale, right?
Yeah, it's out of Yale. There's no windows on the building. Like, you can only go in if you're a member. They only select 13 members a year. Some of the most prominent politicians and business leaders and bankers of all time throughout history, like Walter Camp, who created the NFL, was a bonesman. Like, This is why NFL is like the Coliseum. Like, it's not an accident. But one of the things that they live by is, if you can put a brother in a position of power, you're going to do that over a family member, over your wife. It doesn't matter. If you have an opportunity to put a bonesman in a position of power, you are going to do that. It's one thing that they always...
Because they'll all benefit.
Yeah. So when I saw John Kerry and George Bush, like, there's people that go to interviews and ask them about this, and they get escorted, they get arrested, they don't answer questions. They're like, oh, it's a secret. It's just a secret. We can't talk about that. Like, George, there's video evidence of interviews of him asking, and he's like, oh, I can't talk about that. Oh, I like, they don't talk about it for a reason. And you're willing to tell, you're able to tell me that they ran against each other in two separate political parties that, like, get the fuck out of here. That was the illusion of choice. And immediately right then and there, I knew it was the illusion of choice. And this is why I voted for Obama, because one, of Bush and all of his warmongering and what I knew about 9/11. But I also was like, you know what? They would never let a black guy become president. Like, these people, they don't like black, like, they're racist. Like, these cabal, these elite of the world. And I really thought that he was like a guy who was going to come in and, you know, be the really hope for change. And I hook, line, and sinker, I fell for it. And then 2012 around, I was like, yeah, fuck this guy. He's one of them. 100%. Fuck this guy. But again, 2012 was another illusion of choice, him against McCain. Like, it was another illusion of choice. It was an absolute joke. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, McCain's as deep state as it gets.
Yeah.
So we all knew it was illusion of choice for years, and you could tell people till you're blue in the face, like, hey, this doesn't mean shit. Like, your vote doesn't count. Like, you're wasting your fucking time. Like, I've been saying it for years. But people are like, no, it doesn't. It's not rigged. Like, you're just making stuff up. The president allowed all of this happen. He allowed, what has he been saying in every single press conference, every single rally? Oh, mail-in ballots? We need voter ID because there's going to be lots of fraud. Like, China, the foreign intel, like, there's tweets of him saying foreign agencies are going to try to break into this election and rig this election. Like, he's been saying it for months and months, since like the beginning of the China virus. He's been saying that this election is going to be rigged. He knew it was going to be rigged. So he now allowed this to be rigged because he now is showing this to the American public. Because look what's going on with all the Fox people. Look what's going on with Fox. Like, I've been saying forever that Fox is garbage. Fox is trash. They are again the illusion of choice. They are there to just pacify all the real patriots that think that they're getting the real news. In reality, they're just giving them just enough. And I've been saying this about the Tuckers and the Hannitys. They never cover the Bilderberg Group. They never question the Warren Commission. They never question the commission report. They never dig. Even with Tucker and Tony Bobolinsky in that interview, he barely grazed the surface in the questions that he should have been asking about the Hunter Biden laptop.
100%.
Barely grazed the surface. And this is what they do. They literally just skim just enough so it makes people happy. Like, oh, they're good guys. See, they're doing real investigative journalism. You could take things so much further. And now that this election happened, it showed all of these Fox people. The Million MAGA March happened, and you have people screaming, "Fox sucks! Fox sucks!" Like, their ratings are going.
One of the other things with Fox was they were the highest rated television, and then the left was always hating them, but they would watch it to see what they would say. Sometimes some of them would, but like everybody was like, Fox is God, and then Fox was the one who announced the election.
It was a couple of things. I'll get into that in a second, but Fox, like Tucker, went from 5 million viewers to under 2 million. Ingram 4 million to under 2 million. Like Hannity 6 million to under 2 million. Like, they dropped in ratings like there's nobody's business. It's insane. And the president allowed this to happen so people would stop believing everything that Fox says. Because like you just said, Fox was one of the first people to call the election. They called Arizona, and that was done on purpose. Because again, every single polling station, every election station, the lines were fucking forever. People were waiting over an hour, 2 hours to vote. So now everybody who's watching Fox are usually Trump supporters. Mm-hmm. And they're waiting in line for 2 hours, and they go and check their phone, and there's another hour wait to vote. Oh, fuck. Fox called Arizona for Joe Biden. I'm not waiting. We already lost. Let's go home. I'm not going to vote.
Try to cut that vote for even more of the wave coming in. Try to slow the surge so they have less to fuck with.
And the president used that to his advantage to further expose that this is not a Democrat versus Republican battle. There's 6 companies that own all of our media outlets, Fox included. Fox and fuck included. Newsmax, OAN, they're all fucking hot garbage. Hot trash, okay? And it was there to expose them. Now you have him exposing the Republicans that are all turning against him, like saying you should concede. Meanwhile, the evidence that we literally just went over times 10, because there's so many things that we didn't even touch on of evidence that they're not covering in the media, they're not talking about. The Republicans are still saying concede. Meanwhile, no one's won this election. You have Joe Biden out there with this president-elect seal that doesn't even exist. The office.
How much what do they call that? Bukkake theater? Not Bukkake theater, but you know what I'm saying? Like how much of a theater setup is it? Like him sitting at the desk with the fucking thing on there, president-elect, right? And he's like sitting like this, and he has people at the podium just talking, and there's a president-elect seal, and there's a president-elect thing. It's fucking ludicrous.
Fugazi. It is all fugazi. It does not even exist. And
it's not even a real thing, and people are like, oh, they're like balls deep in it.
No, yeah, and they're like, oh, well, we need to concede. But meanwhile, the electors haven't made anything official. There is no president-elect. None. Zero.
So people, I get another argument, and I saw some things. I actually wrote it down because I didn't know if you heard of it too. So everybody kept saying December 8th, right? Then you hear December 14th. And it was some clause or something in 1948 that like kind of came up. Excuse me. But constitutional-wise, no president is elected till January 20th, 12 o'clock.
No, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And
well, they have till January 20th. So, I mean, it's still under the gun. And I know me and you, especially, Patriot Insider watching him and everything else is like, you want to be patient. We've been patient. Me too. Like sometimes I'm like, what the fuck? I need to see somebody go to fucking jail because there's so much corruption from the municipal level to the state level, to Congress, to Senate. It's on every single level. Like if you don't play ball, you don't get into these positions, right? And it's so corrupt, but like nobody's going to jail for it.
What is this election fraud further exposing, though? What is this election fraud exposing? It's exposing that it's not just a few select people. This goes down to the local municipalities. because you have Ruby in that purple shirt who's pulling suitcases out from under that table in Atlanta, Georgia. That is a local municipality problem. Like, that's down to the local level. And that woman, I'm not going to lie, I don't care if she's got a family, should be hung in public for treason. She should.
100%. I agree.
Because that's what she did. She's undermining.
Motherfuckers are committing treason.
Absolutely. They're undermining the U.S. election. And again, if we do not have a free and fair election, we do not have a free country. We do not have a constitutional republic. Our country is dead in the water, and every single election going forward will be rigged, even though it has been since forever. But now we know for 100% fact, with the evidence that we have seen already, that they are rigging the election. There is no arguing that there is no evidence. Anybody that's saying that there is no evidence, you have your head in the fucking sand, because there is overwhelming evidence, and we haven't even seen it all. We've just seen the tip of the fucking iceberg. Like, it's literally just a little bit of evidence that we're seeing. We aren't seeing much at all. And there's still so much more to come, in my opinion, with the Dominion server, because we had that raid on the Frankfurt server by Special Operations.
Which is crazy. So, like, literally, like, people don't understand. Our Special Ops literally raided that. It was a CIA farm server site. So basically, what's that?
That was a second raid. That was separate from the Frankfurt server.
Oh, okay. So there was another raid, right?
So with that raid, well, first off, the last thing I want to touch about the no evidence. People are saying there's no evidence. There's literally thousands of sworn and signed affidavits. It doesn't get any more evidence than that.
It's not even like hundreds. It's like up. I think it's. I've read something the other day. Isn't up in like a couple of that, like 10,000, 8,000 sworn affidavits.
Rudy was talking to that guy who looks like he's 12. He's like, I don't know if you don't have the intelligence, or you're lazy.
I saw that. He's a fucking gangster.
Here's a binder full of thousands of sworn and signed affidavits, and I have a couple more if you want to read through them. You just haven't read them. Like, go ahead and read them. There's plenty. Like, again, 1 or 2 affidavits, even like 10. Like, you can make an argument like, maybe not. Maybe they're just all, working together. But we're talking thousands of sworn and signed affidavits. Like, there's so much evidence. So Special Operations raided this server in Frankfurt, Germany, and they took that server. But then they went, Special Operations raided a separate building that was like a CIA building, Clowns in Action.
Server farm.
Yeah, server farm for the clowns. And there was a lot of rumors swirling that people died. Up to 5 people were killed in that raid, which Sidney Powell then retweeted one of these tweets, which in my eyes confirms that that's real. That actually happened. Now, I find that very interesting, because even if no one died, but there was a gunfight, that is crazy as fuck.
Our Special Ops are fighting our own CIA. We're fighting each other on the most elite level. So you're going to tell me something ain't going on?
Yeah. Why is our Clowns in Action have mercenaries that are fighting back against? Like, it should have been as easy as like, hey, we need this server. We need access to this. You guys are one of us, so thank you for giving it over. Like, this is what's going on. Meanwhile, we have to send special forces. Just the fact that we had to spend special forces to our own clowns building, like, that's clearly U.S. property. If it's clown intelligence, it is U.S. government property. They should not have to send in special forces. We know that happened for a fact. Whether the people died or not, it's based on Sidney Powell's tweet about it. That's the only evidence that we have, which in my opinion is pretty damn good evidence. She's on Maria Bartiromo's show, and she's like, Maria Bartiromo is grilling her. She's like, you keep talking about this evidence, we haven't seen it. She's like, listen, I have to bring it through the proper channels through the proper channels in the court system, so it's admissible in court. And 2, I never say anything that I can't prove. Like, I'll never ever say anything that I can't prove. So you just have to have some faith that I'm going to deliver this evidence. I have it. Like, I fucking have it. There's more than enough. What I've told you is all I can legally tell you without ruining our case. Like, if I tell you more, it'll ruin the fucking case.
Yeah.
When she retweets something like that, I tend to believe it. I tend to think that there's some meat to that bone. And the fact that there's rumors swirling around. So first, now I want to preface, this is all speculation.
This is speculation.
Speculation. So don't go around saying James from We the People or Garrett from Two Lives Fools is out here saying that this is real, because we don't know. but this is very interesting speculation based on the timing of current events. So we know that this raid happened, and there's potential that people died. Rumors were swirling around. I think it was the day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Gina Haspel, the director of the CIA, was found dead. There was rumors swirling around, and it was natural causes, suicide. It was just she was found in her house, dead on the floor, and that was what was swirling around the rumors. And I couldn't find any information about that out. And I found it very interesting because it was right after this server raid. And if in fact that special operations forces got into a gunfight with our clowns, I don't care if she had because she's not pulling the shots for the clowns. Like, there's people above her that are pulling her strings. She's just following orders. But because she's the face of the CIA, she is the fall guy. She is the person who's going to take the heat for that. And if in fact U.S. Special Forces took on combatant fire from our clowns, she's the fall guy for that. She is in charge. Why are our clowns fighting our U.S. Special Forces? Regardless if anybody died, why is that happening? She's the fall guy for that. So the news that she's found dead, I found very interesting because, one, it could be one of two things. She's taking the easy way out because she knows that she's fucked because they fired back against U.S. Special Forces and she knows she's the fall guy. Or two, she was silenced. Those are really the two options that she could be found dead. But then further reports come out.
Yeah, I think I sent you something a day or two later where, right?
And somebody was tweeting out, and Sidney Powell, I think, retweeted it, that she actually was caught in the crossfire
injured
in Frankfurt, Germany, and there's rumors that she died, and there's rumors that she turned witness, and she's cooperating. Either one, and again, third option of her being announced dead is that she is cooperating and they announced her dead so they
can move her and keep her out of trouble until they can get her to someplace secure.
Bingo. Which that's also I find the timing of it all very interesting because, again, over Thanksgiving weekend, Joey Dumpster Fire, my man hurt his ankle, got a hairline fracture playing with his dog. And now he's in a walking boot. And I find the timing of him being in a walking boot awfully curious because we know John McCain was in a walking boot that switched feet, like miraculously.
Did you see the pictures too that Biden, like one day he had it on one foot, one day he had it on another foot already? Did you see that, or was that debunked already?
That was Photoshop. Yeah.
Okay. That's what I thought. I'm like, there's no way he's slipping up that quick.
That was Photoshop. That was very quickly discovered. And this is what you have to be careful with anons on the boards as they get excited about this stuff and they start spreading it like wildfire. Like a couple weeks ago, there was a video going around of Hillary Clinton doing a speech at Georgetown. And it clearly wasn't Hillary. It looked similar, but it clearly wasn't Hillary Clinton. Everybody's like, look, they're trying to pass this off as Hillary Clinton. But if you actually find the full, and it was from Reuters too, which is like a credible left-wing site for these liberal leftists.
Yeah.
But if you go to watch the actual video, you find the full clip and you dig through it, you find out she spoke in like the first 2 minutes of the speech, and then she passed it off to somebody else who looked kind of like her. But anons were passing it around as like, oh, look who they're trying to pass off as.
Oh yeah, it's another body double.
Yeah, another body double, which we know she has. Yeah. So I can see how anons could fall down that trap. But you just got to dig a little further and look into this research. And this is why I say it's all speculation. But then you have representatives from the clowns come out and say, oh, no, these rumors that Gina Haspel is dead or was in the crossfire aren't true. She's very much alive and well. Okay, well, why doesn't she come out and make that statement herself? Like, that would just shut down the whole rumor right away if she was just like, hey, guys, alive. You know,
well, like people know she's the head of the CIA now, right? So it was very easy to be like that's the equivalent of like, you know, James Comey when he was there, just coming out and making an announcement.
Yeah, or like making an announcement about the raid that we know happened. Like, why don't you come out and say, hey, you know, there was a raid in Frankfurt, Germany. You know, the clowns and the U.S. Special Forces worked together, and we got it. Like, if they wanted to spin that narrative, like that would be very easy for them and put her face in front of a camera, and people are there like, oh, Maybe she's not dead. Oh, okay, that makes sense. You know, but
And
we know
I haven't heard anything since I sent that over to you, bro. Like I haven't heard anything about that. You?
I haven't. I haven't either, and I find it awfully interesting. And there's rumors about Barry Sortetto being picked up as well. And
Yeah, we saw that. Yeah,
but again, the
that you picked up in Hawaii or whatever.
timing with Joey Basement being put in a walking boot, which is very weird to me. It's very odd that he's being put in a walking boot, which would make sense.
Well, and then the other thing, you read because reading with that we're speaking about now, is that a judge put a media blackout
Yeah,
order on this, so everybody wouldn't lose their shit. But the places that are reporting about this are some Canadian reports, some Spanish reports from Spain, because they don't have to fly by the same rules, so they're putting it out there, and that a judge put a media blackout on it, basically to surround everybody up, and then they'll be able to release it at a later time, so nobody loses all their shit.
and media blackout also makes sense because you really think our media is going to cover that? They're going to actually put that on the news? Like, you honestly think that if that actually really happened, that they're
So
going to?
how do you think that, this is the hard part, is because we know the nose isn't going to do it. We know that we have to share information and do what we got to do and get these videos out. We got to do what we got to do, and to just share, both sides of view, whether it's, right, left, oh, it got debunked, whatever. It's just doing basically our own like civilian journalism, right? So how does it come out if nobody can be trusted?
Well, that's the thing.
Is it like, this is emergency broadcasting system, and then they have to do it that way?
That's what I think it's gonna play into. I think it's gonna start out on social media where the president or General Flynn or Sidney Powell are gonna start tweeting out some more worse evidence than they're already showing, because the evidence that we're seeing already is so damning, it's so overwhelming that there's no way you can convince me that this is not fraud. There's zero chance that you can convince me that at this point, based on the evidence, the irrefutable evidence that I've seen with my own fucking eyeballs.
The scary part is like the FBI, the DOJ, any of them are not doing anything.
I think that's,
And
again,
even Sidney Powell said something the other day. She's like, we have this evidence, we have the people, we have all this, and we know you guys are sick and tired of them like not arresting anybody, not doing anything. How do we get this taken care of if we can't get anybody on any, 3-letter agency level to do their job?
So again, I think the president is playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers. He set this up. He's brilliant, literally brilliant. So I have a couple theories that are all kind of entangled together. So the first theory is that it ties in with the Sting thing. We allowed this all to happen. So, fuck, I forget what I was going to say. I forget my train of thought. I'm fucking stoned. Well, first, Sidney Powell. So with the evidence that's going to come out, I think what's going to happen is President Trump is going to be declared the winner. I think it's going to happen. He's going to, after all the Supreme Court, everything is done, he's going to be declared the winner. He's going to start tweeting out or posting some of this evidence. Twitter's going to shut down. Social media is going to shut down because they have to stop the spread. Because if they just remove POTUS or they just remove one person, they won't be able to stop it. Because once it's on the internet, it's on the internet forever. It's there.
Yeah, we'll be able to just sling it. People will be able to sling it, share it, post it, put it to BitChute, Rumble, whatever it is.
Yes, it will be everywhere, regardless. It will get out. So they'll have to shut down the internet. And I think POTUS is going to go to the emergency broadcast system and start broadcasting further evidence to straight directly to our phones. He didn't create that for no reason. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't just so he could tweet to us.
Mm-hmm.
I really think there's an internet shutdown coming. But what is going to happen is when POTUS wins, we can take this to the bank. We can guarantee this. I bet you know exactly what I'm going to say. Riots are going to break out. It's guaranteed. You can take that shit to the bank. As soon as President Trump gets announced he won a second term, they're going to fill the streets and start rioting. We know this is going to happen. They boarded up the windows expecting Trump to win in the first place, expecting riots. Like, this is not an accident. And this is why the president is playing chess while everybody's playing checkers. So the military is the only way that this works. The FBI is clearly not doing anything. The DOJ is clearly not doing anything. And this is, I think, part of the Hunter Biden laptop being released right before the election to show that the FBI has had it for 9 months, did absolutely nothing. Meanwhile, there's videos and of minors and his niece giving him foot jobs, like disgusting, disgusting stuff.
Anybody else would be in jail.
The FBI did nothing. The DOJ has done absolutely nothing. Didn't step in with Russia. They didn't step in with General Flynn. They did absolutely nothing over the course of the 4 years. Meanwhile, all the things that have come out, all the evidence has come out, shows that they should have done a lot more than they did. So no one trusts either of them. So the military is the only way. Now, when President Trump gets declared the winner, they show the evidence that the election was rigged, and this is why he wins. The riots happen. The president will then be allowed to call the Insurrection Act. And this is what Lynn Wood and Sidney Powell have been tweeting about the past couple of days about calling in the military and calling the military state. And I think it's truly the only way. And optically, it will work out perfectly. Because this is why the president allowed riots to continue in all of these states for months on end. He would literally be up on every single press conference like, hey, Portland, give me a call.
I know, it's insane.
We'll clean it up in a half hour. Like, just let me know. And they kept refusing. They kept saying no. They kept saying no. So the average American, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, the average American is sick and tired of the riots. They don't want riots. And if this goes to the Supreme Court and is upheld in the Supreme Court, there should be no riots when the Supreme Court makes a ruling on it. There shouldn't be. So when the riots do break out, the average, because the riots aren't hurting the politicians. They're not hurting the police, hurting the local business owners. They're hurting the local neighborhoods. That's who's getting hurt. The local citizens who live in those neighborhoods are getting hurt the most. So the average American, doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, they don't want any more riots. And this is why I think the Million MAGA March happened, because to further prove this point, that President Trump, we all knew going into the Million MAGA March that the election was rigged, that they're trying to steal this election. All the Trump supporters were there screaming at the top of their lungs that, hey, this was rigged. Meanwhile, it was so peaceful that they even prayed for Antifa. They prayed for the Democratic Party. Like, that's how peaceful it was. Hundreds of thousands, some even reported over 1 million did show up at this rally, and no violence, no businesses were burned, nothing. So now, when the riots happen, the media cannot put the spin on it that it's Trump supporters. They can't say it's the Proud Boys. They cannot put that media spin. They only can say it's the left, that they're pissed off that Trump is now the winner. Now the president calls in the Insurrection Act, calls in the military to quell all the riots. The reason why he's able to call the Insurrection Act is because treason was committed. That is the only way that you can call the Insurrection Act, if treason was committed. Rigging a U.S. election, clear-cut treason. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It is fucking.
And people don't understand that the treason law was updated. Did you see that about 2 weeks ago?
For penalties, or well, that wasn't just treason. That was just the federal
executions.
Federal executions literally was rushed. It's not an accident that it was rushed for firing squads, hangings, and gas
executions.
Rushed through. That's not an accident. And Joe M from Storm Is Upon Us, he tweeted out, I just posted it on our page. He goes, why would Trump desperately fast track a rule that would reintroduce firing squads, electrocutions, and federal executions if he was leaving office? That would be the last thing I'd do if I was being kicked out of the White House and thrown to the.
Everybody hated my fucking guts, right?
Like, he's gonna get executed if they actually won. Like, he's the first one to go. Like, they're gonna put him in a firing squad, him and his entire family, and just end their lives right then and there. Like, why would you do that? But
because Trump's children are criminals. You didn't know that? They have businesses overseas. They're criminals.
So, optically, the Insurrection Act, when the president does call in the military, the average American, when the riots are roaring, is going to be fucking, finally, somebody is doing something. Like, enough with the riots. Like, I'm tired of these riots. There shouldn't be riots over an election, especially one that the Supreme Court ruled over. Like, there should not be riots. So the average American, optically, is going to be okay with the president calling in the military. The media try to spin it, but the average American is going to be fucking, finally, somebody is doing something about these ridiculous riots, and they're going to be happy about it because they don't want it to happen. So again, this is why the president is playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers. And it ties in to what we're talking about with the raid in the server in Frankfurt, Germany. Because again, this is all connected. We take the server from Frankfurt, Germany, the Dominion server, and we also raid the Clowns in Action server base, whatever it was, the server spot where they're harboring.
Server farm or whatever.
This happens, and it happens literally a day after our acting Secretary of Defense, Chris Miller. I always call him Nick Collins for some reason. Chris Miller, our acting Secretary of Defense, he comes out and makes a speech saying, I want from now on, all intelligence operations and special forces operations are no longer going to go through their normal channels. They're going to come directly through me. They're going to come directly through the Secretary of Defense. No more rogue operations. Everything's coming direct. And then the very next day, we raid these servers and go to the CIA farm. I find that the timing of that very interesting. And again,
there's so many things that are so closely connected that it's too much to be a coincidence.
Then we add into the fact that also on the Thanksgiving Eve, the day before the Thanksgiving, President pardons General Flynn.
Gangster.
Again, I don't think it's an accident. The day before that was the day that they made the address saying that that Sidney Powell is not part of the Trump team. This is not an accident. Like, this is purpose, because again, Sidney Powell was General Flynn's lawyer the entire time. She has all of the evidence that was used to try to frame General Flynn. That evidence was not able to be used in any other case or any other thing because this was an ongoing case. So now that case is closed, that evidence can now be used. The same people that tried to frame General Flynn are the same people that are rigging this election, and they're using a lot of the same tactics that they used. So now that evidence can be brought over here, and she can use that. But you find it interesting that inside the Department of Defense, a couple people get appointed that are Flynn's guys, because now Flynn no longer got a gag order. General Flynn's guys were Kash Patel, Ezra Cohen Watnick, and Anthony Tata. They've been working with General Flynn for a long time, and they were going to work with him if he was the director of national intelligence. They are now the head of intel, the policy head, and the chief of staff for the Secretary of Defense for Chris Miller. Chris Miller is the acting.
Which is crazy, too, because everybody's like, if you really think about it, like, if Trump thought he was going to lose and everything else and all this other shit, like, do you really think he would have just swapped everybody out with, 6 weeks left in office?
Yeah, exactly. It makes no sense. So now we knew that going into the election that Esper, Ray, and Haspel were on their way out. We knew that win or lose, they were on their way out. So Esper got removed. Chris Miller got put in. But I find it interesting of the people that they put inside in the Department of Defense, the Kash Patels, the Ezra Cohen Watnicks, and the timing of the pardon of General Flynn and the separation of Sidney Powell and the Trump administration and the Trump team. Because what is Sidney Powell saying every single day when she goes on TV or does an interview? If I was in charge, I'd be bringing criminal investigations immediately. If I was in charge, I'd be investigating this right away. Like I'd be putting people in handcuffs. And on Steve Bannon's War Room show, she basically confirmed she's going to become the head of the FBI. So I don't think it's a coincidence that, because she has all the evidence that is tied in with Flynn, ties in with this Russia investigation, ties in with this fraud and the Russia investigation. All is connected.
So do you think that when if Trump pulls this off, right, and everything goes, she's going to be the head of the FBI and she's going to be the one swinging the hammer soon?
I think she's going to be appointed the head of the FBI, and this is why she's separated from the Trump administration, because this is what she's saying. I would bring criminal investigations, and I think for the second term, General Flynn's going to be appointed to the Secretary of Defense. Who knows where all the bodies are buried? Who would be in charge of all the intel, all the intelligence operations? This is the Secretary of Defense, General Flynn, and he already has his guys in place at the DoD, at the Department of Defense.
Excuse me, who do you think is going to take over CIA then?
I think
they're going to do a purge.
I think the CIA may be completely dismantled. I really do. Because if you read what Ezra Cohen Watnick said, he repeated a speech, very quote from JFK when JFK was talking about splintering the CIA into 5,000 pieces. I don't think that's an accident that he's saying that. And if in fact the election was rigged, the clowns have a very big role in this. And if in fact they shot at and had mercenaries that shot at U.S. Special Forces, you cannot have that organization around anymore. You have to just
walk that back. Even though it's happened 1,000 times in time.
Huh?
I'm sure this has happened before in time, but this is the first time we're hearing about it.
This is now, it's being exposed to the American public. We are now seeing this, and this is part of the sting operation. The American public has to see it. It's called the Great Awakening for a reason. It is literally called that for a reason. People need to wake up. Like, I remember going to the election thinking, like, man, still so many people are fast asleep. But now people are like, holy shit, like, this happened. This Fox is doing what? Like, what? The Republicans are doing what? What? Like, do you hear the guy on Rush Limbaugh who called in, who's a Republican, and like he got super emotional and it gave me chills. He's like, Rush, he's like, the only person that has our back is President Trump. Like, no, like, we had the Million MAGA march. He's like, I was there with my son, and not one Republican showed their face. If it was the left, all of them would be there. They'd be walking upstairs hand in hand in support. Not one Republican showed up to show support and speak at this event. Not one. He started crying. Like, the only one who has our back is President Trump. And it's sickening. And the American public are seeing that it's not just the Democrats. It's the Republicans that are very much involved in this. They are
saying it forever. Like, the right wing and the left wing belong to the same bird.
Bingo. So I think that was part of it, and it's part of exposing it. It has to be done this way. And sometimes you have to walk through the darkness to see the light. You have to. It can't be if President Trump just were to come out and say this is going to happen, they're going to say he's a dictator. They're going to say that he's trying to overthrow the election and become a dictator. Like, it cannot be done the easy way, the way we want it to be. Like, as much as we could,
like, drop the hammer, swing the dick, and let's be done with it.
Much as we want to say, like, oh, I wish President Trump did more to stop this or prevent this from happening. If he did, what do you think the media is going to
do? He's using his power. Exactly. That's why he never sent the military in and the National Guard to stop the riots in the first place.
Exactly. So now when treason is proven and he does it, the average American's like, oh, fucking finally. Like, options are very, very important. So I truly think Sidney Powell is going to head up the FBI and General Flynn's going to be the Secretary of Defense. And they're going to totally revamp everything. And the Secretary of Defense would be able to revamp the clowns and take care of all of the intelligence operations and rein them all in. And he has the background to do so. I mean, Chris Miller does too. He's a specialist in counterintelligence and counterterrorism. That's what his background is.
Yeah, I mean, because, I mean, obviously you, like, you know, I mean, being a realist, like, you need motherfuckers like the CIA for certain things.
Well, here's the thing. The CIA was...
And, I mean, we have different avenues where you have the NSA guys and you have the other, you know, there's different avenues, and you got your special forces guys and that stuff, so.
The CIA was created as... it was the OSS originally, and then it turned into the CIA, but it was created as foreign intelligence. Like, that's why it was created, for foreign intelligence, not to investigate U.S. citizens, not to carry out biochemistry weapons like the Chinese. Like, the CIA is involved in all of that. Like,
shit.
It's so funny. Like,
you tell me the best agencies in the world let all this shit just slip in.
Well, it's comical to me because there's so much evidence. Like, remember Gary Webb, who blew the whistle about them pumping the crack into the cities in New York, and was doing not in New York, in Compton and South LA, and he committed suicide with 2 bullets in the back of the head. He was a journalist. Or the plane that crashed, the Clowns in Action plane that crashed that was smuggling cocaine, and they just said, oh, they were rogue agents, they weren't involved, and all of these things have been like, how many times do things like this have to happen before we're like, all right, enough is enough? Like, enough. Yeah. Like, people are rogue, the whole agency is corrupt, and it needs to be ended. And this is why you have people like John Brennan out there vocal as fuck. Like, he is extremely vocal for a reason. Like, he knows what's coming for him. They're fucked. They're all so royally fucked, and I cannot wait. Like, it's so funny. People are like, why isn't arrests happening? Why is nothing happening? And it's understandable. I get it. I get why people feel that way, because this stuff has been going on for so long and nothing. And like Hillary Clinton, they're constantly walking free. I get it. I get where you're coming from.
Well, I mean, you know, me and you have also talked, like, you've been down this hole for a long time. I've been down this hole for a long time. It's like, come on, bro. It's like 15 years. Like, pull the fucking trigger. Yeah, I mean, obviously even longer, but I'm just saying, you know?
So it's an understandable point of view.
Yeah, it's a human emotion.
But
frustration, you know?
Again, you have to wake up the American public for it to work.
Very true.
Because if you just start picking people off, the media is going to take a spin on it. They're going to put a spin, and they're going to divide the country, and no one's going to understand why. Like, imagine President Trump just came in and just started picking people off and arresting them. People would lose their shit. They would not know how to handle it. They wouldn't know why. It would be an overwhelming amount of information. They wouldn't be able to absorb it. Now it's all coming out in little drips. Like the Russian thing was fake. Oh, the Steele dossier was bought and paid for by the Clinton Foundation. Oh, later on we come to find out, oh, he was being spied on by the Barack Obama administration. Oh, Joe Biden was involved in unmasking General Flynn. Oh, General Flynn was completely exonerated by the prosecution and the DOJ, but Emmett Sullivan, who's
wouldn't drop the case.
Wouldn't drop the case. Oh, you know, this fraud is being like they're carrying suitcases from underneath tables and counting them after everybody left. Like all of these things. Oh, they're bringing ballots from Pennsylvania to New York. Like all of these things are coming out in little bits and pieces where it's enough information for people to understand and grasp, so they can then piece the whole thing together themselves, rather than like imagine knowing all this information that we know, and imagine learning it all at once. Like all of a sudden you're just outside, like you're living this life, and all of a sudden a boom, brick wall hits you. You're like information overload. Like you wouldn't be able to absorb it. You wouldn't know what's what, which way is left, which way is right. You'd be so fucking lost. So it has to be done this way, where it's dripped out in small bits and pieces of information. So optically, when the military is called in through the Insurrection Act, people are like, fucking finally, someone's doing something. Like,
yeah, where people would be on board with it without, losing their shit, like you're saying.
Yes.
No, I agree. I agree with you, but like I said, it's just that human emotion for some people. They're just frustrated, because you hear it, you see it. I'm guilty of it too sometimes, but, I mean, at the end of the day, like, we have to let people know that there's two sides to a story. And whether it's us reaching 20 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people, viral video, like it's our job. Like we've said 1,000 times, if I could just change one person's mind, it's like being a teacher.
Yep. So you have to realize, we know for a fact, we know this has been done by presidents in the past. And this is why I think that what the Durham report is actually doing right now. Because again, there's no leaks in the Durham report. I still have faith in the Durham report. I really do.
I hope so.
I really do. I still have faith. Because we know that as far back as Nixon, presidents have pardoned a ton of people before they left office. Like the last day, they used their power to pardon people.
No, like Clinton and his brother, yes.
And they've done it. Clinton's done it with a ton of people. What's his name? Barry Seal was on that list. Coke smuggler.
Yeah.
And they made a movie about it with the clowns in action. Like they made a fucking movie about it, yet people don't think that this is real. Like we're just thinking the clowns are just rogue. It's crazy. But what if it's possible that they tried to rig the 2016 election, which I think that they did. They didn't account for all the people showing up to vote for President Trump, which there's reports coming out that it was rigged in 2016, and they underestimated. They weren't ready to handle what we showed out to do, so they had to just accept the election. Because again, they never thought she would lose.
They never accepted it, but yeah.
They never accepted it, but President Trump was able to get in. So they rigged it. What if, because again, this was in 2016, Barack Obama, Barry Sortetto was the president until January of 2021. So what if right before he left office, he pardoned all of them for all of their election rigging, all the things that they were doing, all of their ties to Epstein, everything that they were doing, they got pardoned, because all of his pardons, for those who don't know, got sealed and classified. It's top secret. You don't know who he pardoned, but he put it and he classified it. Okay, so what if he pardoned all these people for all of these things? And John Durham, his job was to investigate the 2016 election and the origins of the Russia investigation.
Well,
what if he did investigate that, but he could not bring charges because they were pardoned. So he used all the investigation that he used and all the evidence he had to set them up in the sting operation in the 2020 election, and they are now investigating that 2020 election as well, and including that in the orders of the original report. And this is why there is no leaks, because he was investigating still currently through the 2020 election based on the evidence that he found, but he could not use. But now he can use that evidence because it was now they did it twice. They did it twice. They had to get caught again in the same crime. They couldn't prosecute him for the crime that they committed before because they were pardoned. So again, they had to continue. And again, no leaks. There's no leaks in this investigation. This is why the media is freaking out.
Which is crazy because they're losing their minds because it's like airtight.
And this is why the media is trying to say that, oh, he's going to back down when a Biden team comes in. Like, they have no idea what this guy is going to do. They have no fucking clue what John Durham is up to. They are lost. They are completely lost. And I don't think that's an accident. And they want to know, but they can't figure it out. They have no idea. And it scares them more than anything. So again, this is why the president is playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers. He is making these moves and counter moves and putting these people into place in such a perfect way that the American public, the evidence is already
undeniable.
And we don't even have.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, look at it. I mean, we're coming up on me and you almost 2 hours of just fact after fact. Like, this is all stuff that you can look at, except for anything we said speculation. Like, everything else is stuff you can visually see, sworn affidavits, court orders, like there's like everything we spoke about. But some people have not even know that the election is being disputed. It's insanity.
And they believe the reports that, oh, President Trump's court cases got thrown out. Meanwhile, they've brought 3 and none of them have been thrown out. And even if they did, it doesn't matter. It's going to, like, we know it's going to go to the Supreme Court. Like, anything that's happening right now, like,
it's just exposing the corruption at the lower levels and the middle levels and everything getting up to the Supreme Court.
Once it hits the Supreme Court, and I think the ruling in New York City is going to be the precedent for what the Supreme Court is going to rule. Because what they did in New York City is they followed the Constitution. That's what they did. So I don't know if you saw, in New York City, Cuomo made a rule, an executive order, limiting how many people can show up to church or the synagogue and worship. And the Supreme Court overruled that ruling in a 5-4 vote. John Roberts being on the 4 side, even though he's
a fucker,
socialist conservative, that cocksucker.
Yeah,
it should have been 9-0, because again,
I don't get it. Like, why would you, like, it's an undisputable thing. Yeah, and you still have 4 people going, I'm not going to vote for it.
Yep. It's absolutely
undisputable. If you read the Constitution, like, you can't fuck with the worship. You can't fuck with freedom of speech. Like, I don't get it, man. But that's the problem.
People don't realize that any law created that goes against the Constitution is null and void. Like, that law cannot exist. If it goes against what the Constitution says, it does not exist, which gives me a lot of hope, because I think that's going to happen. What's going to happen is they're making rulings in California about the ammunition capacity. They're saying that's unconstitutional.
You're starting to see things, and especially with the unconstitutional stuff, is like, you know, the thing with like you said, like the guns and everything else. I lost my train of thought, but I know that with hold on, let me get it back. With the constitutional stuff is, I forget who it was. Oh, this is where I was going with it. I don't know if it was Dan Crenshaw or something else. There's so many law. What's that?
John McCain with an eye patch.
I know. It sucks because I liked him, bro. I liked him, and he still does some good shit here and there. But like,
I have some inside sources, some special forces that work with the intelligence that I've made throughout this entire journey. Definitely credible sources, and he pretty much said SEALs are not to be trusted.
Yes, I've heard that as well. And then I also saw something that, you know, it was the young, I don't know if you saw this. I don't know if it was GS or no. What's the guy? You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. He's got the glasses. Klaus.
Yeah.
He's one of, like, him, Tulsi Gabbard, all them were in this, like, young order group type thing.
World Economic Forum, which is a cabal, cabal as it gets. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the one point I was going to say is like for every law we make, you have to get rid of 5 or something like that. It was saying because there's laws on the books from so long ago that don't even make sense now.
Yeah. Well, the world changes. Absolutely. And
Yeah,
the world
which is a great thing because like I think
But
just
I think the Constitution is going to win out on this one. I think they rushed Amy
I
Coney
hope so.
on purpose. They made that ruling in California. They made the ruling in New York. New Jersey is on the books for gun rights. The NRA is going to the Supreme Court with the gun laws. I truly think it's going to turn. It's very soon in our lifetime. It's going to be a nationwide open carry cross state lines. If you have a gun license, you'll be able to open
I
carry.
think concealed carry is good. Open carry is stupid.
Well, I agree, but
But I'm just thinking, like, I think it should be. I think anybody should be able to carry. People will be nicer to each other.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Without a doubt. And there's a reason why people don't get out of their car and start beating each other up like they do in New Jersey when there's road rage. Like, think how many times it happens in New Jersey. That shit doesn't happen here. You pull up to my window like that, I'm fucking pointing a gun at you. Like, what are you doing here, dude? Like, why
Yeah.
are you, what are you doing? Like, get away from me. Like, you open my door or try to threaten me any violently.
Yeah. Are you open carry or concealed carry there?
It's open carry is legal. You don't need a license. You don't need anything. You go buy your gun. Like Vegas is sweet. You literally go. Your background check is done in 10 minutes. You walk out of the store with your gun. Like it's not like New Jersey where it takes days. The fee is like $50, and you can literally open carry. Like it's crazy. Concealed carry you have to get a license for concealed carry, but it's fairly easy to get if you want it. You have to take a couple tests. Make sure you know how to handle a gun, which I think me personally, I think if you want to carry a firearm,
As a gun owner, you should be doing those things.
bingo, you should not be.
Training. It's like anything else. It's training. Like if you don't shoot, you're not proficient. If you don't draw, you're not proficient. Like if you don't clean, unload, do this, all that, you're not proficient. And you got to be familiar with the tool you're carrying.
You're not going to go and pick up a circular saw, a buzz saw, and just start cutting wood and have no fucking idea what you're doing. Like you're not going to go and do that. Like it's not. I'm sorry. Like any tool. Like really think about it. Like you're not gonna just pick it up and just, oh, all right, cool, I know how to use this.
Yeah, you don't pick up somebody's picking up 100-pound fucking concrete sledgehammer, jackhammer. Like you don't just get up and get after it.
No, you have to learn how to use it, and that's how you should do with guns. But I think the Constitution is like I really think the cast of characters that we have in the Supreme Court right now are gonna overturn a lot of unconstitutional rulings as far as guns, as far as religious worship, freedom of speech, and things like that. I really think the Amy Coney Barrett appointment was extremely, extremely important, not just for this election, but also going forward, because we now have a constitutionalist Supreme Court, people that live by the Constitution in the majority, which is very good. So I have a lot of hope for what's coming in the next couple weeks. I really do. I really do.
Yeah, I hope so too, brother. So, I mean, I know we definitely covered a lot of shit today. So a lot of people that haven't even heard about any of this is that their head's gonna be spinning when we upload this episode,
Absolutely. No, it was a lot of fun, dude.
Yeah, no, we always have fun. So real quick, I want to thank James so much from We the People Radio. Check him out, Instagram, if they don't shadow ban him again. What do you got? Your YouTube? Yeah, you got your YouTube. What else? Go ahead, read them off.
We're on Apple Podcast app, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Pod. We're on all podcast platforms. YouTube, We the People Radio, and on Instagram we got 3 accounts: We the People Radio with periods in between each word. And then we got 2.0 and WPR USA _. I post on all 3 of them now because we're so shadow banned, dude. Like it's insane. It's crazy. But man, I appreciate you having me on. It's always fun chopping up with you.
Nah, dude, I love chopping it up with you because not everybody goes down the same rabbit holes as me. So it's always good to speak to a fellow free thinker. But also, guys, check out Roll Junkie, our sponsors. The new Saint rash guard dropped. I have it in my IG. It's the black and yellow one, the gold Saints color one. Pretty dope. And then they had we just got the new Prevail gi, which is Tar Heel blue accents. It's pretty dope too. So, and then their new cipher should be coming out what's it called? The new Cypher Geek should be coming out soon. So remember, promo code 2LiveFools, get 15% off your entire order. So once again, James, thank you for filling in for Drew and getting busy with it.
Shout out to Drew, Dad Life. Congratulations, brother.
All right, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Have a good one, guys.